Case Strategy Simplified. It's Japheth here, your producer, and I really quickly wanted to pop in to tell you about Black Belt. So if you're targeting a consulting role at a firm like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Deloitte, Oliver Wyman, Accenture, you name it, Black Belt is a structured case prep program that might be exactly what you need to push you over the hump and land that offer. So it is a structured case coaching program where you'll get one-on-one coaching from a former McKinsey, Bain, or BCG consultant. You'll also get a year of free access to our new community for exclusive employer info sessions, training, master classes, community support, and much more. Last but not least, you get unlimited digital materials to support your case prep progress. Oh, and by the way, over 80% of Black Belts who complete the program land a consulting role. That's pretty incredible. So we'd love to see you inside of Black Belt. Join at the link in the show notes. Welcome back to another episode of Strategy Simplified. Japheth here, your producer. I'm really looking forward to this episode because I know that many of you are familiar with L.E.K Consulting. You've at least heard the name, but we're going to introduce you a little more to the firm through this episode. This is a snippet from a recent info session led by Managing Director Matt Mancuso. Matt is an all-around great human. We've had him on the podcast before a couple of years ago talking about the firm's L.E.K to L.E.K program, for context of those of you who have been around since that time. So in this episode, Matt shares a quick overview of his background. He shares the type of work the firm does. Hint, it's a lot in healthcare and life sciences, but that's not all the whole picture. He shares about the firm's capabilities, core sectors of focus, as well as a recent client case study. To be completely transparent, this is just about 25% of the full info session recording. To get that, it is available only to members of our private consulting community. And to join that, join our Black Belt program. Link in the show notes to learn more about Black Belt, where you can catch the rest of this info session where Matt shares about careers at L.E.K, including what a typical week in the life of a consultant looks like, what the typical calendar looks like. He shares what types of candidates are a good fit for the firm and next steps if you're interested in a role. So in summary, join Black Belt to catch future info sessions as well as to catch the rest of this L.E.K info session led by Matt. I'm going to stop talking and turn this over to Matt to dive right into the episode.
I'm Matt Mancuso. I'm a partner in our Boston office. I've been with our firm 10 years, which means I've been here about 8 years longer than I ever planned on being here. So it's been a heck of a journey. I'm really glad I went on it. I started in our New York office back in 2014, 10 years ago, after finishing a PhD at Cornell. Spent about a year and a half there. Headed to Singapore for a project, which was really cool. Spent about a quarter in Singapore learning what life sciences in Asia looked like. Wish I spent longer, honestly. If I could go back, I would. And then I landed in Boston for my wife's career, actually. She had a great opportunity up this way. She's a bioinformatician. We headed up to Boston to take that on. L.E.K was super flexible. Switched my offices, worked great. Was back on board within about a week and going in Boston. And I've been here ever since. As you could probably gather from some of my intro, I'm a biotech, biopharma guy by background. I have a PhD in biomedical engineering. I spent all of my time helping biotech and biopharma companies think about strategy, mergers and acquisitions, and similar topics. I lead a lot of our work on innovation in biopharma. So really where new technologies are coming along, gene therapy, cell therapy, AI, etc., what that means for the company as a whole. Basically, I'm a nerd, even among a group of nerds. That's a little bit about me. Happy to answer any questions as I go. As I mentioned at the start, I've been here 10 years. I never planned on being here that long. I'm happy to take questions on exits as well. I think a lot of people view consulting as a stepping stone, and I've watched a lot of my colleagues go on to do great things. Not everybody stayed. And it's been a heck of a journey. So enough about me. Let us take you into the firm a little bit here. So I'm just going to organize my screen. There we go. Perfect. So L.E.K is a rapidly growing firm. We offer benefits of global scale with a small firm feel. What does that mean? When I started in New York all those years ago, there was about 30 of us, and the kitchen was just a little table in the corner. Our New York office is now multiple floors in Times Square. I think it's about 200 people. That said, when I go back there, I still know everyone. I still see all my old colleagues, and we're still small enough that there's a lot of familiarity there, which is really phenomenal. You can see some detail on us on the right. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary last year of our founding in London. We're up to 21 offices worldwide and a little over 2,000 folks. The dots here are colored by region, so you can see a little bit how we're organized too. Broadly, we have a group for the Americas, for Europe, and for APAC. And you can see some of our key offices here. These are all client-facing offices serving clients in the local regions. You've heard my spiel there about where I've been, and I'll talk about it a little as we go, but there are a lot of international opportunities to really extend across these regions and these offices and do things on the other side of the world if that's what you wish to do. If you think about who L.E.K is or what we do, you can see a little bit about our capabilities and our core sectors on page 4 here. I'll start on capabilities. We're really a pretty strategy-focused shop still in a world in which a lot of other folks are taking on more operational work. It's not to say we don't do some. You'll see it in that organization and performance bucket fourth in from the left. But predominantly our work is about strategy. Who do you sell to? What are you selling to them? How do you do it? Should you buy this company? How do you integrate digital into your future? How do you evolve your manufacturing in a world in which sustainability is increasingly important? And questions like that. We answer these across a number of sectors. You can see my own home, a bullet under healthcare there. And then you can see all of the other sectors we play in: industrial, consumers, technology, media, telecom on the bottom here. It's hard to encapsulate every client we work on in any single statement. We're working for hundreds of clients in any given year, doing thousands of different things. But you'll see projects for big pharma companies, my own work. You'll see projects for things like cruise ships, airlines, consumer and clothing, technology and fintech, and really kind of the gambit of things down here. Most of our US work tends to be pretty commercial in nature, along with a handful of pro bono projects for nonprofits where they need some help. Ex-US, we do more government-facing work as well, just the way we've evolved. But what you'll really get from us in the US here is a pretty good mix of commercial clients. I'm going to double click into that top left box, the healthcare sector, for 1 minute, just given that about half the folks seem to be advanced degree holders or close, I should say. If you look at our healthcare sector, we break up into 4 segments, and we cover everything from the most patient-facing of services, the actual physician office, all the way back to the diagnostic companies, the pharma companies, and even the pharma service companies that support those industries. So what does that mean? Depending on which of these verticals you choose ultimately to spend your career in, the way we break up the world is we have a group, myself included, serving biopharma. So I work with everything from VC-backed small emerging biotech up to the biggest biopharmas in the world. I have a group of colleagues who focus on enablers. These are things like lab tools, diagnostics, everything involved in bioprocessing. So when you're actually making a drug, what is all the equipment involved in that? What does that look like, et cetera? And pharma services, the contract research organizations, the contract development organizations, and everybody who supports the rest of the pharma world. We have a group of folks in medtech and the supply chain. These are sort of the folks who deal with the literal nuts and bolts of healthcare. So, spinal fixation devices and pins for your wrists and pins for your knees and things like that. And then our healthcare services group, which includes everything from healthcare IT to providers, so physicians, and a big group working on all of the different payers and insurance companies out there. It's a lot to digest here. Fairly important, though, if you think about your own career and where you're going and which of these verticals you want to play in. There's some crosstalk among all of them, but ultimately you're going to be developing expertise more in whatever area you focus in. Our PhDs, our MDs, etc., tend to land in those left 2 buckets. You kind of come in dedicated to those, though a number have moved to the right over time. For the kind of more generalist hires, the MBA hires, et cetera, you could end up in any of these buckets or any of the ones on the prior page outside of healthcare. I'll talk a little bit about how that whole system works and what it would look like for you as we go. But that kind of gives you an idea of how we organize ourselves. In addition to these sectors, if you look at the bottom of the page, there's then a number of horizontal practices that span all of these. We have a big group always working with a variety of investors, whether it's VC firms or PE firms, depending on which of these sectors you're in. We have our organizational and performance group. They're kind of concerned with how companies operate and what's the most effective structure to get the job done. Consumer healthcare, this has been a big one in the last 12 months. For anyone following along, the GLP-1 weight loss drugs, Ozempic, et cetera, are a hot topic right now. And every one of the sectors up above is spending a lot of time trying to figure out what this future world of having good drugs for obesity, well, maybe good is an overstatement, but drugs for obesity means. Digital healthcare, this again spans the spectrum here, but things like actual FDA approved apps, whether or not they have a drug component, they might belong in one world or the other, a device component, et cetera. And then we have a healthcare insight center, which is kind of our publication focused group and spans all of these practices. So a lot to take in here, but the important things I would think about as I leave these first couple slides is, should you join L.E.K or take some other career path, at some point in time, you're going to be wanting to think about the balance between a generalist model and specializing. And these are the types of areas: biopharma, enablers, med tech, healthcare services, or more broadly, industrials, consumer, TMT, that you're going to be spending your time. So what do we actually do? The team here put together a case study to walk through quickly. This was a small project run out of our South American practice. It is not one of mine. I thought it made an interesting example though, because it's pretty, I think, tangible and kind of easy to kind of grasp what we did and what we were doing. And this was a project where we were helping the diagnostic group at Roche understand how to detect and improve breast cancer screening and diagnosis in Chile. And over this project, what our team set out and did was it looked at incidence rates, so what the rates of cancer are, spoke with 80 different professionals, and performed a mix of primary and secondary research, sort of breaking down Chile, what was going on market by market, and understanding what barriers existed for breast cancer screening and diagnosis. Again, I like this one because it's tangible. We gave them real takeaways in terms of an awareness campaign, training, et cetera, that they could roll out to improve diagnosis in Chile and actually help solve this problem, make sure these patients are diagnosed earlier, and ultimately save some lives. These recommendations were ultimately implemented as part of the actual national guidelines aimed at increasing diagnosis and treatment rates, and really changed how that market thinks of this problem. This is one example of hundreds. It's hard to summarize what we do in one concise place. Some of the things we do are more abstract and harder to see the real impact, but it's there nonetheless. And I'll give some examples. Some of my most transformative projects have been some of the largest M&A deals of the 10 years I've been practicing at L.E.K, really leading to industry changes that drove innovation, drove new growth, drove new product launches, and impacted probably hundreds of thousands of lives. If I think about the projects I've been on, they've been more oncology focused, rare disease focused. I don't know if I've quite hit millions yet, maybe, but I don't know that I've bought a GLP-1 or something like that. I guess I just did. We'll see in the next couple years what happens. I'll be able to say millions soon.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Strategy Simplified. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or Spotify helps boost the show's rankings. If you want to join Management Consultant's private consulting community to get access to firms like L.E.K and more incredible consulting firms, then join today through Black Belt. Link in the show notes to learn more. All right, we'll catch you again on another episode soon.